Welcome back. Welcome back to another F1 video, man. Shout out to man John with the video. All credit goes to him. But anyway, I did just watch Drive to Survive. Netflix, season 1. Very, very good. Very, very good. And that's where Nico Hulkenberg comes in here. So we are finna check out, does Nico Hulkenberg deserve a second chance in F1? So obviously he was at Renault with teammates with Carlos Sainz, and it was actually a pretty good season. Obviously, I didn't really know the whole him and K Max situation. I know him and Kevin Max don't really like each other. I know after the race, K Max was getting interviewed, and Nico came up and said something behind him, and I forgot what K Max said, but I'm like, hey, they got some beef. They got some beef. But anyway, let's go and let's get started with the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you are new. Let's get it, man.
So we've just heard that Kevin Magnussen is going to be driving for Haas this year alongside Mick Schumacher, but a couple of days ago there was a rumour going around on Twitter that Nico Hulkenberg was the prime candidate to get the second Haas seat now Mazepin is officially gone. And this got me thinking, as I usually do, that I can milk a few views from making a video on him. So, without any waffling, let's discuss, shall we? Now, I just want to preface this video by saying that I wrote the entire script before the K-Mag announcement, so if there's some stuff that sounds kind of off, then it's because I didn't know anything in the making of this video. But with that out of the way, let's get into this. So, as is tradition when I talk about a driver on this channel, a good place to start would be the start of their career. And in Nico Hulkenberg's case, his first foray into car racing was in 2005, with the Formula BMW Championship. Now, this year was a pretty decent start to his career, with him winning 8 out of 20 races on his way to the championship and coming third in the world final. After this success, he went on to enter the German Formula 3 Championship, where he finished 5th, and then he won the failed A1 GP Championship for Germany. So, 3 full championships in cars and 2 championships won.
That's pretty
Not
good.
too bad, huh?
That's
In
solid.
2007, he came third in the Formula 3 Euro Series and first in the Masters of Formula 3, before coming back in 2008 to win the Euro Series. In 2009, he won the GP2 Series, scoring 10 podiums, which would end up being the last 10 podiums of his single-seater career. After a very successful junior career, Hulkenberg moved on to F1, and almost overnight turned into the most bang-average driver I've ever seen. But let's take a closer look at that, shall we? After all, we'll never know if he deserves a second chance if we don't know how well his first one went. Sure. So, he signed with the Williams team for 2010 alongside Rubens Barrichello, and if I'm completely honest, he didn't do that well. While Rubens Barrichello scored points in both of the first 2 races, Hulkenberg finished 14th in the first and retired from the second, after Kamui Kobayashi used the open lobbies approach to braking into turn 4. Towards the end of the season, Nico started to get the hang of things, and both he and Rubens were regularly scoring points by the second half of the season. Ultimately, Rubens' season was much better than Nico's, scoring more than double the points, but hey, it was Hulkenberg's first season and better things would come next year.
I was just going to say that. I wasn't going to be too hard on Nico, because it's his first season. Kind of like how I was with Guan Yu Zhao. Also, shout out to my man Guan Yu Zhou. I'm sorry, Guan Yu Zhou. Guan Yu Zhou. Yeah. He just re-up with Alfa Romeo. Shout out to him. Keeps his seat for next season. Good job, my boy. Good job, my boy.
Was a test driver. Yep, after a single season in F1, Williams gave Nico the axe and he had to find a new job. The only one that was available at the time was the test and reserve driver for Force India, so he took it. Obviously, he didn't get any quantifiable results this year, so I'll just say he did good testing, or something. The following year, he was given a full-time seat with the team, where he slapped up Paul di Resta, but to be honest, I'd be concerned if he didn't. He came 4th in Spa, which would go on to be his best ever result in F1 after making a habit of bottling podiums. And he did just that in Brazil, where he performed some acrobatics into turn 1 which took out Lewis Hamilton, and gave him a penalty which cost him a maiden win. Overall though, 2012 was a decent season for Nico, and while he didn't get a podium, he wasn't driving a car that should have been anywhere near the podium, so I guess it checks out. In 2013, he drove for Sauber, and had another decent season, scoring 51 for team's 57 points, alongside another average at best teammate, Esteban Gutierrez. In 2014, he was again signed for Force India, where he stayed until 2017, scoring 96 points in his first season, which was his career best.
So at this time, he did have some success. Like, it didn't seem like he wasn't, he was just bang average. Like I said, yeah, he struggled his first year, which a lot of people did. But like, just like we've seen with a lot of these F1 drivers, they are pretty having good. That doesn't make any sense. But they're really good in their junior careers. But The first season is a big adjustment, man. Your first season in
Another
F1
regular
is a
in
pretty
the
big
points,
adjustment.
even while Force India's car performance between years was about
Especially if the car you have isn't as good.
While not F1 related, I feel it's important to mention that during these years he also won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2015, but there have been plenty of Le Mans winners who don't deserve an F1 seat, so I guess it's not too relevant. I mean, Paul di Resta won the thing, so you clearly don't have to be that good. Okay, I'm done with the Paul slander. In 2017, Hulkenberg was signed to Renault, where he stayed until the end of his F1 career to date. In this time, he had 3 teammates in Jolyon Palmer, Carlos Sainz, and Daniel Ricciardo. Against Palmer, Hulkenberg was levels ahead, scoring 43 points to Jolyon's 8. But I guess that's what happens when you're actually alert on a street circuit. Overused joke, sorry. Against Sainz, it was fairly even, with it being 69-53 in Nico's favour, but we do also have to bear in mind that he had more retirements than Sainz. So overall, Nico was the better driver in 2018. 2019 then, the last year of Hulkenberg's career, and the first year in a while where Nico had been beaten by a teammate. Ricciardo walked into the team and almost instantly made it his own.
Dang. Alright, so going back to Jackie Survives, yeah, so I do know he left, Red Bull. Now, he's at Renault. So, hey, thanks for the spoiler. That's on me. Like I said, I was looking forward to see what team he joined, but it's alright.
Even if he did make a habit of standing next to a burning car over the year. Nico finished the year in 14th place, which was his worst year in his 10 seasons in the sport. According to Nico, his performance wasn't the only reason he lost the seat, and there was apparently a nationality factor involved, with the French team wanting to get Stickman in for 2020. Speaking of 2020, let's talk about the 2 British Grand Prix, although you're probably already bored of my voice, so let me hand over to Cars with Connor.
Nico was drafted into the Racing Point to replace the infected Checo Perez at the British Grand Prix. On Friday, his pace wasn't too impressive. He was 6/10 off Stroll, which was quite something. But by Saturday morning, he had closed the gap up to Lance, as he was now only 2/10 off his Canadian teammate. And then in Q2, he was 600th of a second off Stroll. But unfortunately, he barely missed out on progressing to Q3. And to add insult to injury, on the morning of the race, his engineers found an issue with his car, meaning he was unable to start the Grand Prix. A disappointing end to what could have been a great race for the whole. That next week, Hulkenberg would return to the Racing Point car for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. And unlike last time, Nico was immediately comfortable and extracting all pace and performance out of that car. He was matching Stroll, and oh yeah, he qualified P3 on the grid, beating his teammate by 0.3 of a second.
That's good.
Now, if that's not an outstanding performance, then I don't know what is, considering he'd only stepped in that car a week prior. As for the race, it was still an incredible drive, but nearing the end, the mechanics found another problem with his car, and in this case, it was his tyres. So he had to
oh my god, I'll just be pissed. You have 2 back-to-back good, quality practices at the British Grand Prix, which is a solid race. But then when you get to the race and and the car is messing up.
Put him in P7 behind Lance. Still a mighty good weekend, and he probably should have beaten Stroll, but luckily he'd have another chance. In October, later that year, Stroll fell ill, and Nico was called up again to partner Sergio Perez. This time, though, it was for the Eiffel Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Unfortunately, Nico's qualifying wasn't too great, as he was knocked out in Q1, starting last on the grid. But nevertheless, Nico stormed up the field, pulling off some beautiful overtakes. At the checkered flag, Perez finished P4, and Nico ended up P8. Not a bad drive at all, if I do say so myself.
I think Connor is the fastest growing F1 YouTube channel at the moment if we look in percentage terms, and for good reason. So if you want to be part of that insane growth and maybe even get him over the 10k mark, then links will be in the description. But that's enough reciting things you can see on Wikipedia. Let's get to the title of this video. Does Nico Hulkenberg deserve a second chance in Formula 1?
I think so.
Well, yes, and also no. You see, just looking at the results of his junior career is enough to tell you that he was a very good driver, and I'm sure he is still a good driver now. As far as I'm aware, he's just been a full-time layabout over the course of 2021, but no doubt he's been keeping the skills ticking over in the simulator. He's currently Aston Martin's test driver, just as he was last year, and although there isn't much threat of COVID anymore, there's still the chance that the team need to call on him at some point this year. If there's the offer of a full-time seat on the table, then I see no reason why Nico shouldn't take it. But the question is, should he get this offer? As I mentioned right at the start of this video, the rumours point to him having already signed, but that's only speculation, and anyone who unironically uses Twitter as a reliable news source isn't exactly doing themselves any favours. Nico has 9 years as a full-time F1 driver and 2 as a reserve, so he's bound to have a lot of experience that Haas can draw on, especially when their only other driver is Mick Schumacher, who is good for sure, but just the 1 year of driving the worst car on the grid isn't going to be enough for him to offer much useful input into the car's development. So Haas should, and probably are, looking for a bit of experience experience to partner Mick. If money isn't the issue for Haas, then someone like Nico or Kevin Magnussen should be the one that they turn to if they really need the experience and pace. But let's move on to why I think he shouldn't get the seat. Another candidate for the Haas seat is Oscar Piastri, and yes, he lacks F1 experience, but he more than makes up for it in pace. You don't win both F3 and F2 championships if you're not pretty decent, and that would mean that Haas have a lineup of 2 F2 and F3 champions, which definitely makes for some good bragging rights.
Also, do you guys think Mick Schumacher is leaving Haas?
Plus, Oscar won't demand a huge salary, and he's playing the same role as Nico at the moment within his current team. And that brings me on to one of the main issues with potentially signing Nico Hulkenberg. The fact that at age 34, he won't have loads of years left at peak
it's only
form.
so much.
Based on 2020's evidence, he's still fairly close to that peak, but how long will that last for? And surely Haas shouldn't be thinking about just signing someone for 1 year, or else they'll be faced with the same question next year. And as well as this, Nico Hulkenberg might not be as good as everyone says he is. Sure, he's been unlucky to have not scored a single podium in F1, but at the same time you do sort of make your own luck. And after 180 something race starts, to have not taken a single podium has to be slightly your own fault. But then again, Nico Hulkenberg is an experienced driver who had arguably a better junior career than Mick Schumacher, and who is miles clear of Nikita Mazepin. If Haas can afford his salary, then I have no doubt that Hulk will be a solid driver for them, even if just for a year or two. Obviously, Nico wasn't the driver that Haas ended up going
Imagine, alright, I'm just gonna win my bet.
and that's for a number of reasons, which I go into in the video I made on that very subject. So, all in all, I don't think Haas would have been making a mistake to sign Nico, but I think they could have done a bit better as well. If that makes sense. And look, they just have. Well done, Haas. But what do you think?
Imagine if Haas gets rid of Mick, and they keep K-Mag, and they bring in Nico Hulkenberg. Just imagine. That'll be very, very interesting. I'll actually love to see that. I'll love to see that. But anyway, hope you guys did enjoy the video. Don't forget to like and sub. Gonna be dropping another F1 video tomorrow, most likely. Stay safe. We'll see you guys later, man. Peace.